This is one of the few times where I'm going to be doing a double review, and it's more because I don't think Ravage has enough for me to justify making a whole video on it. And yes, I know the videos I do are super short and are more of a general overview of the figure. I don't like going into too much detail because I hate rambling, and more or less I want people to know if I like it or not, and if I recommend it based off of certain factors, regardless of how good or bad a figure actually is. And if you guys want longer reviews, just tell me and offer suggestions for how you want them to be longer and what you think would make great content. So with all that out of the way, Soundwave here, he looks really good. The robot mode, except for maybe the face, looks like how he did in the movie. The blue is like a nice deep blue and is my favorite shade of blue. And the whites are just a pure solid white that gets lost in most white backgrounds. And I'm at the point now where I've had enough white on my camera that I might just go for an all gray background. And the bits of details here are also nicely picked out in like the gunmetal gray as well. And there's virtually no kibble on this figure. That's an important bit for later though. The lack of kibble does make the robot mode look phenomenal, but sacrifice of an alternate mode for later, kinda, Anyways. The accessories included are his shoulder cannon and his rifle, and as far as I can tell they actually cast the weapons in the correct color instead of just like casting it in one color while painting the entire thing a whole new color, and just gave paint where it was needed like the blue on the rifle grip. The other accessory they should have included is Ravage. Yes, this thing is the literal smallest core class figure they've ever released. It doesn't look bad, mind you. It's the only complaint I have in terms of looks, is it doesn't resemble a jaguar and more of a dog of some kind. It came packed with two side cannons, his underbelly cannon that attaches to Soundwave's shoulder cannon to create the concussion blaster, and it looks pretty good. I personally keep it on the shoulder despite this not being super accurate to the original. The articulation here isn't bad at all, but it could be better, especially with how small it is and for the price they have to pay. I know it's only $10, so it's not terrible on the price, but this is the one time where I feel like I didn't really get my money's worth. The transformation for Ravage is super simple and easy, but you have to get the back angles facing just right, otherwise you risk popping them off, and it doesn't sit right in the box mode, which is exactly what it is. This thing reminds me of an old Bakugan that came out in the late 2000s, and I almost wanted to throw it just like that, and of course the box mode fits perfectly inside of Soundwave's chest for storage. Articulation on Soundwave isn't bad at all. He's your average Voyager in modern day, but the one complaint I do have is the way the shoulders are, and I always hate when Hasbro uses these types of joints for the shoulders when they could have found a better solution. And I get for the transformation that's why it is the way it is, but I still wish they could have found something better to do for the shoulder articulation. The transformation for Soundwave, it exists. It's more or less crumpling Soundwave and flattening him into a pancake, basically. And it's not terrible by any means, it just raises a lot of questions for me, especially with the end result that you get. The alternate mode for Soundwave here is supposed to be some type of hovercraft, and I gotta say, for Cybertronian modes, this is probably one of the weaker ones that I've seen. It doesn't really look like anything that Soundwave has turned into before, as far as I'm aware. And it's obviously underside as just Soundwave's head and chest, and you could turn the head for a slightly better look, but you can also just use the robot chest as a way to deploy Ravage from the sky and have him drop in like Rhina during the parody invasion. Overall, if they were sold as a set, they would for sure get a super hard recommend from me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still recommend them, but I have a hard time saying your shelf would look empty unless you spent $40+ US on Soundwave and Ravage, and that's my biggest complaint. It's just too expensive for the both of them. Also, 40 is too generous of a number you'd be paying, especially if you buy from an online retailer like Big Bad Toy Store. I'd say Soundwave gets an 8 out of 10, Ravage gets about a 7 out of 10, both are good, it's just too expensive to get both. That's really all I have, so make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you're so inclined, please follow my social media pages down below in the description. And with that, I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, week, month, life, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!